Hello, welcome to Beyond the Paradigm with me, Paul. This is episode 6 of my podcast, and today I'm going to be looking at UFOs, UAPs, extraterrestrials. I believe this to be the mother of all conspiracy theories. Each year, many thousands, if not millions, of UFO, UAP sightings are reported around the world. Some of these sightings can be explained away as being drones or aeroplanes, astronomical or atmospheric phenomenon. However, there is a portion of these sightings that remain unexplained. Project Blue Book was a codename used in the United States for a systematic study of UFOs, and this took place between March 1952 until its termination on the 17th of December 1969. By the time Project Blue Book had ended, it had collected 12,618 UFO reports and concluded that most of them were actually misidentifications of natural phenomena, for example clouds or stars, or they were conventional aircraft. According to the National Reconnaissance Office, a number of the reports also could be explained by flights of the formerly secretive reconnaissance planes U-2 and A-12. But 701 reports were classified as unexplained even after stringent analysis had taken place. The UFO reports were archived and are available under the Freedom of Information Act, but names and other personal information of all the witnesses have been redacted. Now, the fact that these sightings are ubiquitous means that they simply cannot be ignored, and they demand that they be investigated. There are those that will simply not listen to any claims of UFO sightings, and they just ridicule such talk without any investigation whatsoever. However, I believe this to be a foolish way of dealing with such claims. It is a fact that there are people that make false claims in order to gain some airtime or notoriety. However, not all people who claim to have seen UFOs or claim to have been abducted by aliens are motivated like this. Some genuinely believe their own claims. One famous case from the United States was made into a film in 1993 called Fire in the Sky. It is based on a man called Travis Walton, who claims that while he was working in the Apache Sitgreaves National Forest near Snowflake, Arizona, he was abducted by aliens. Walton was actually missing for 5 days and 6 hours. After days of searching with scent dogs and helicopters, Walton says he reappeared by the side of a road near Heber in Arizona. The Walton case received mainstream publicity and remains one of the best known alien abduction stories, while scientific skeptics consider it a hoax. According to Walton and a number of other members from the logging crew that were with him, on November 5th, 1975, he was working with a timber stand improvement crew in the Apache Sitgreaves National Forest Park near Snowflake. When riding in a truck with 6 of his co-workers, they allegedly encountered a saucer-shaped object hovering over the ground approximately 110 feet away, or 34 meters away, making a high-pitched buzzing sound. Walton says that after he left the truck and approached the object, that a beam of light suddenly appeared from the craft and knocked him unconscious. The other 6 men were supposedly frightened and they drove away. Walton says that when he awoke in a hospital-like room, being observed by 3 short, bold creatures. He says that he fought with them until a human wearing a helmet led Walton to another room where he blacked out as 3 other humans put a clear plastic mask over his face. Walton has said that he remembers nothing else until he found himself walking along a highway 5 days later with the flying saucer departing above him. Now, these are very extraordinary claims, and I've watched the interview with Walton on the Joe Rogan podcast. He seems to be a very unassuming regular man from a working class family, and he doesn't talk in a way that makes his story any more sensational than it already is. I've also read various comments on various forums online regarding Travis Walton, and some of the people on these forums claim to have known him or someone in his family. And all of these comments that I read regarding this said that he's telling the truth. However, this is just one of many abduction stories. Now, just recently, excitement over UFOs has grown to fever pitch recently with the statements made by the former US Air Force officer and intelligence official David Grusch. On the 5th of June 2023, Grusch was interviewed and identified by the interviewers as a whistleblower, claiming that the US federal government maintains a highly secretive UFO retrieval program which is in possession of multiple spacecraft of non-human origin, as well as records and corpses of deceased pilots. This interview has gone viral all over social media and has had the UFO community crying out, "We told you so." But should we be so hasty? Could Grusch be considered a tinfoil hatter? Well, I don't think so. Grusch was a decorated combat officer within the United States Air Force during the war in Afghanistan, and is a veteran of the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency and the National Reconnaissance Office. From 2019 to 2021, he was the representative of the NRO to the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force, and from late 2021 until July 2022, he was the co-lead for the UAP analysis at the NGA and its representative to the task force. He assisted in drafting the National Defence Authorization Act of 2023. So his credentials speak for themselves. So I think that Grusch needs to be taken seriously and his claims need to be investigated further. Roswell is perhaps the most famous case regarding sightings of UFOs. On July 8, 1947, Roswell Army Airfield issued a press release stating that they had recovered a flying disc. The Army quickly retracted the statement and said that instead that the crashed object was a conventional weather balloon. The Roswell incident was not widely discussed until the late 1970s, when the retired Lieutenant Colonel Jesse Marcel, in an interview with ufologist Stanton Friedman, said he believed that the debris he retrieved was extraterrestrial. However, as I am based in the UK and Roswell is probably the world's most famous and most exhaustively investigated UFO incident, I'm not going to go into detail regarding this incident. Instead, I'm going to have a look at some incidents from the UK and also one incident from the US, which up until a few days ago I had not heard of. I've also been doing some independent research and we're going to look into that also. And due to the extensive material that I've accumulated on this topic of UFOs and UAPs, I'm going to split this into 2 episodes, possibly 3, in order to keep each episode as a more manageable length for people to listen to. So let's look at the Rendlesham Forest incident. Now, the Rendlesham Forest incident was a series of reported sightings of unexplained lights near Rendlesham Forest in Suffolk in England in late December 1980. It became linked with claims of UFO landings. The events occurred just outside RAF Woodbridge, which was used at the time by the United States Air Force. US Air Force personnel, including Deputy Base Commander Lieutenant Colonel Charles Holt, claimed to see things they described as UFO sightings. The occurrence is one of the most famous claimed UFO events to have happened in the United Kingdom, if not the most famous. And it is among the best known reported UFO events worldwide. It has been compared to Roswell, and it's sometimes referred to England's Roswell. The Rendlesham Forest incident has taken on a near mythical status. It's so famous in the UK that there is now a UFO tour that takes place around Rendlesham Forest, and it's the first in the UK. The UK Ministry of Defence has stated that the event posed no threat to national security, and therefore it was never investigated as a security matter. Skeptics have explained that the sightings as a misinterpretation of a series of nocturnal lights, a fireball, the Orfordness lighthouse and bright stars. But those who gave such an explanation, they were not actually there. Furthermore, the United States Air Force commander in Europe flew in from Germany after the incident and took documents relating to the incident back to Germany with him, something which infuriated the Ministry of Defence. Now, I just want to quickly look at 21 facts about this unresolved UFO incident. So first of all, the first of several sightings occurred in the early hours of December 26, 1980. And it is now almost 43 years since the UFO incident at Rendlesham Forest. Understandably, the facts are murky and contradictory. Accounts have emerged in the years since the incident took place, and it all started on the 26th of December 1980, when this US military personnel, they spotted the strange lights in the forest at Rendlesham. Secondly, the sightings took place near RAF Bentwaters and RAF Woodbridge. Now, RAF Bentwaters was an air base used by the United States Air Force during the Cold War until 1993. Sections of the US Air Force were stationed at the air base when the incidents occurred, and including eyewitnesses. To this day, they claim they saw an extraterrestrial craft in the forest in the month of December in 1980. Thirdly, it is one of the few officially documented UFO sightings where witnesses have actually claimed to see a craft land. Nick Pope, who was a Ministry of Defence employee from 1985 to 2006, wrote a book entitled Encounter in Rendlesham Forest, the inside story of the world's best documented UFO incident. And he described the incident with the following words: "This was not some vague lights in the sky sighting. The UFO actually landed." The US Air Force officer John Burroughs described agitated animals and red and blue lights near a farmhouse. One of the men asked to investigate the strange blue and red, orange and white lights coming from the forest, John Burroughs, in a witness statement published in 1981, and he said, "The woods lit up and you could hear the farm animals making a lot of noises. You could see the lights down by the farmer's house. We climbed over the fence and started walking toward the red blue lights and they just disappeared. Number 5, Officer Jim Peniston. His witness account describes a craft made from smooth, opaque black glass. US Air Force Officer Jim Peniston was with Burroughs during the incident, and he described the craft, and he said it had hieroglyphic-like characters. Now, he stated the following: "I estimated it to be about 3 meters tall and 3 meters wide at the base. No landing gear was apparent, but it seemed like she was on fixed legs. I moved a little closer. I walked around the craft, and finally I walked right up to the craft. I noticed the fabric of the shell was more like a smooth, opaque black glass." Number 6, the indentations on the ground and high radiation levels. They were recorded the next day. The morning after the incident, which was witnessed by Burroughs and Peniston, indentations on the forest floor were spotted, as well as damage to the trees in the area where the lights had been seen. Radiation levels recorded at the site of the indentations were also reported to be unusually high. Number 7, Colonel Holt recorded a running commentary during the second UFO sighting at Rendlesham Forest on December 27, 1980, 2 nights after the first reported incident. Lieutenant Colonel Charles Holt was known as a pragmatic character, and Holt set out to disprove the wild theories, doing rounds at the RAF base. When more lights were spotted, he took his tape recorder and joined the military patrol group. Now, the resulting audio tape has since been declassified by the United Kingdom's Ministry of Defence, so you can actually listen to it yourself, and I have heard recordings of it. Now, during the recording, in which he mentions objects and lights in the sky, as well as a red orb floating near the ground, Colonel Holt says, "It looks like it's an eye winking at you. Here he comes from the south. He's coming towards us now. Now we're observing what appears to be a beam coming down to the ground. This is unreal." The recording is considered today to be one of the most valuable pieces of evidence from the Rendlesham Forest incident. Number 8, Burroughs and Peniston, the first 2 witnesses, suffered post-traumatic stress disorder. In the encounter in Rendlesham Forest, Peniston wrote a book, and he wrote this: "I left the forest a different man. I was in awe of the technology, and yes, knowing that it was an aircraft which could not have been manufactured in 1980 or even now." And both Peniston and Burroughs have suffered this post-traumatic stress disorder. And in recent years, Peniston has claimed that the craft telepathically transmitted binary code into his brain. Fact number 9. Numerous eyewitness statements emerged following the incident. Burroughs, Peniston, Colonel Holt have been the most vocal in saying they believe what they saw was extraterrestrial in origin, but they are not the only eyewitnesses. Sergeant Adrian Bustinza, a security police commander who investigated the incident at the time, said, "When I arrived at the scene, it was going in and out through the trees, and at one stage it was hovering." Fact number 10. Some eyewitnesses claim not to have seen any UFO. Another witness, Ed Cabansag, described seeing a glowing near the beacon light. But As we got closer, we found it to be a lit up farmhouse. We got to a vantage point where we could determine that what we were chasing was only a beacon of light in the distance. The Ministry of Defence has claimed that the lights came from a nearby lighthouse, and it has also been stated that the event posed no threat to national security and was therefore never investigated as a security matter. Fact number 11. In 1983, a UK newspaper ran a story, and in the following years, as accounts about Rendlesham Forest incident were released, the press started to respond to the growing public interest around the event, and in 1983 this newspaper, its actual headline proclaimed, "UFO lands in Suffolk, and that's official." Fact number 12. Statements from radar operators have recently corroborated Colonel Halt's claims. As recently as 2015, the then 75-year-old Colonel Halt announced that he had obtained written statements from radar operators at RAF Bentwaters and nearby Wattisham Airfield that an unknown object was in fact tracked. At the time of the incident, as per the BBC, Holt claimed they had not wanted to come forward until after they retired from their military roles, and he states, "I have confirmation that Bentwaters radar operators saw the object go across their 60-mile scope in 2 or 3 seconds, thousands of miles an hour. He came back across their scope again, stopped near the water tower, they watched it and observed it go into the forest where we were." That's what Colonel Holt said. Fact 13. Today there is a UFO trail set out in the forest. In 2005, due to the public interest in the UFO incident, the Forestry Commission used lottery proceeds to create this in Rendlesham Forest, and they just called it the UFO Trail. In 2014, the Forestry Service commissioned an artist to create a sculpture that was placed at the end of the trail based on the drawings that were made by eyewitnesses of the UFO. Fact number 14. In 2015, a dog walker posted a fresh video of UFO footage from Rendlesham Forest, and there have been more incidents of unexplained lights and UFOs in the United Kingdom and the Rendlesham Forest area since 1980. Only 5 years ago, another video was posted of bright unidentified lights in the sky above Rendlesham Forest, filmed alongside an RAF helicopter. Fact 15. There is a story about an incredibly futuristic technology secretly installed at RAF Bentwaters. Daniel Simpson, director of the Rendlesham Forest UFO incident, a fictionalised account of the story filmed on location in the forest, told the Telegraph the following story. "I recently heard of a very interesting story of a guy that went up to the Bentwaters airbase, and because it's privately owned, some of those buildings are rented out to people. A company up there wanted to have their internet sorted out, and this guy dug down. He was a telecom guy. He came back and he was sheet white. He couldn't believe it. He said he had just come across these cables 2 foot down, and they were cables delivering such a powerful internet connection. But these were cables from 1980, and yet they were so advanced of what we've got even today. I am told all the time, technologically, is what we get is much behind the military. Fact 16. Recent claims suggest that the Rendlesham Forest incident was a revenge hoax by the SAS. In December 2018, Dr. David Clarke, a British UFO researcher, reported a claim that the incident was set up by the SAS as a revenge plot on the United States Air Force. According to the story, in August 1980, the SAS parachuted into RAF Woodbridge to test the security at the site. The US Air Force detected and captured the SAS troops, who were subsequently interrogated, beaten up, and reportedly even called unidentified aliens. As a form of revenge, the SAS devised their own prank version of an alien event. As December approached, lights and coloured flares were rigged into the woods. Black helium balloons were also coupled to remote control kites to carry suspended materials into the sky, activated by radio controls. And the Telegraph explained this in an article about this supposed hoax. Number 17. Jenny Randalls was one of the first journalists to report on the incident. She also co-authored the first book on the case in 1984 called Sky Crash, A Cosmic Conspiracy. In 2010, Randall suggested that the unidentified aerial phenomena of unknown origin might be responsible for what eyewitnesses experienced. Number 18. Some of the UFO skeptics believe that the sightings were caused by a meteor and atmospheric distortions. A science writer and UFO skeptic Ian Ridpath explains, on the night of the incident, the British Astronomical Association Meteor Section reported that an exceptionally brilliant meteor, termed a fireball by astronomers, was seen over southern England. It is shown that this fireball is most likely what they saw and had that nothing actually landed in Rendlesham Forest. Some skeptics have also suggested the light seen in the sky may have been bright stars distorted by atmospheric and optical effects, a common source of UFO reports. Fact number 19. Others suggested that the sightings may have been caused by the nearby lighthouse. According to the witness statements from December 26, the flashing light could be seen from the forest, and it lay in the same direction as the nearby lighthouse. Timings on Holt's audio tape also suggest that the light he saw flashed every 5 seconds, the same flash rate as the lighthouse. As Daniel Simpson countered to the Telegraph, the lighthouse theory is rubbish. Lighthouses don't fly down into forests, split them into 5 different lights and zap off into space at Mach 3. They don't move through the trees and get mistaken by up to 20 witnesses from the United States Air Force. Fact number 20. There have been suggestions of a government cover-up by Colonel Holt, who recorded the audio tape commentary during the second incident, and he's gone on record as saying that he believes what he saw was of extraterrestrial origin and that the incident was covered up by the UK and the US governments. The Ministry of Defence, meanwhile, is adamant that the Rendlesham Forest incident was of no threat to national security and therefore hadn't merited a full investigation. Fact 21. Details continue to emerge as Britain's Roswell earns iconic status. Academic David Clarke argues that Rendlesham Forest, which has now iconic status among UFO enthusiasts, is passing into legend. And it's not about to be put to rest, he said. New witnesses have emerged as recently as 2016 and 2019, one of which described a glowing reddish ball, and a new documentary called Capel Green is in the works. With a lack of any satisfying conclusive evidence on either side, skeptics and proponents will continue to debate the matter and compare it to the Roswell UFO incident in 1947. What do you believe about this incident? Now, I just want to end the show today with some information regarding some independent research that I've been undertaking. I'm originally from the county of Lancashire, more specifically East Lancashire in the northwest of England. So I decided to contact the police force from that area, Lancashire Constabulary, about this instance of different unidentified flying objects and phenomena. I did a Freedom of Information request. I'm just going to read you the letter, and this is my initial request. So I've put, under the Freedom of Information Act 2000, I am requesting all information that your force holds in relation to unidentified flying objects or unidentified aerial phenomena. Sightings for the period 1st of January 2013 to the 8th of May 2023. This includes all reports made by members of the public or employees of your force mentioning UFOs, UAPs, lights in the sky, aliens or extraterrestrial beings over the East Lancashire area. So I narrowed it down to make it easier for them to do the search, because they often come back and tell you to narrow things down when you do these Freedom of Information Act requests. So I got my response back, and I'll read some of it, what they said to me. So they basically said, unfortunately, it's not possible to provide a response to this request. And they go on to say that it's not possible to complete the request for unidentified flying object UAPs because they don't have a national standard of incident recording. And so they determined that the requested information would require them to check a large number of incidents and use search criteria like a keyword search. And they do this keyword search, it says, and it's been completed, and that they highlight only the first 250 characters of a log. And they have said that they've got information regarding UFOs and UAPs, and they said that in the keyword search that they did for the time period that I asked, they've actually got 504 incident records for that time period. That's a massive amount. I didn't expect them to come back with such a large amount, because I've done some more Freedom of Information request acts, one for the police force where I live now in North Wales, which I'll go into on another episode. But they've come back and said to me that they've got these 504 incidents, and the reason why they can't provide the actual detailed information is that they've made a conservative estimate that it would take 4 minutes to review each incident. So then it would take them 33 hours, and under the Freedom of Information Act, they have what's called an appropriate limit, which is within 18 hours. So they refused to provide the information as per what they called Section 16. But they did say to me to submit a new request for the 12-month period from the 1st of January 2022 to the 31st of December 2022. So I've done that, and as yet I haven't got any information back, but they have to respond to me within 20 working days. Now 20 working days is up on the 21st of June, so I'm awaiting their response. Like I said, I've done some further information gathering independently. So if you'd like to listen again, it'd be wonderful to have you back. Like I said, it's probably going to turn into 3 episodes this, but certainly come back again for episode 2, where I'm going to look at some more incidents and talk about more recent incidents. If you'd like to follow me on Paradigm_79, that's on Twitter. And if any of you have got any sort of information regarding UFOs, that you yourself have seen any UFOs, I want to hear from you. So contact me on email at beyondtheparadigm@yahoo.com. So join me again as we go deeper into this rabbit hole on Beyond the Paradigm.